You found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on this.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dapper Reacts. We're a little bit early, because, well, I don't know how to read a clock apparently. I just saw the 7, and I was like, oh, that's when we're gonna go, 3 minutes early. And it was, 13 minutes early. So, hey, welcome to a slightly early edition of Dapper Reacts. I'm gonna take a quick drink for being a professional. Yeah. And, of course, welcome to my guests. Well, my guest is Chesh, my co-host is Vishanti. Vishanti's here too often to be termed a guest. She's a co-host. So, we'll start with the guest, though. Chesh, how are you doing?
I'm suffering.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But on the bright side, you get to listen to...
I'm gonna do my best.
Yeah, on the bright side, you get to listen to Robert Carter. That will soothe everything, right?
Quite frankly, the pain that this person might inflict upon my brain might be enough to distract me from my body trying to eat me alive from the inside.
Well, there you go. I mean, let's hope, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've allegedly heard that the cure for pain of a headache is a broken toe. So, it might work.
Also, Vandalian1998 for $5 says, reminder to all DoorDash drivers out there, you are not entitled and can't cut in front of 7 people already in line. Learn kindergarten rules again. There you go. I mean, that is true. You're not allowed to just cut just because you're there for DoorDash. I mean, that's...
I've heard a recent phrase that I think I'm adopting from somebody who was on my channel recently called generic minority, and he said, "Stop it. You know these kids can't read."
Nice.
Well, that's like the Arthur meme where she's like, "This sign won't stop me because I can't read."
Yes. Accurate.
Vishanti, how are you doing?
Be more specific.
Are you feeling well physically?
Physically, yes.
Okay. And
physically, she's got me beat.
Yeah, and look, it's not a secret. You said it last week. Yeah, you had some layoff problems, so
in this economy.
Yeah, I think I can speak for the chat and say we're all hoping that you get that all sorted out as soon as you can. So, but
yes.
Also, look, people have been stepping up and helping you with getting things from your wish list. So
yeah, I was just about to say I have I've been saving all the little square pieces of paper that tell you if someone sent like a little note with it.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you to the people who have gotten me things like sweaters and books and organizational stuff. I can go grab the envelope, but it's across the room, and I don't know if you guys want to fill dead air. So.
I mean, well, I'm going to start in with the drinking rules, so, I mean, that's probably enough time for you to grab that envelope.
Okay. I'm going to go do that.
I like that your chat is bringing up dingo pictures.
Mr. Cliff for £5 with their first super on a live stream says, moo. Well, moo back. Thank you very much. All right, so this is, in fact, one of the drinking streams. I've got some Modelo Cerveza Negra, which apparently that company was founded in 1925, so good job there. You guys are at 99 years. One more. And the drinking rules, for those of you who are not familiar, first of all, we will drink 4 every time we just kind of have to because it's too stupid. And that's a judgment call mostly on my behalf, although if my co-host or my guest is like, no, we have to drink for that, then, I'll probably listen to that. Then we will also take a drink if Dr. Robert Carter actually gets something right, but he can't just be quoting something. It actually has to be something that, is in his brain and then it comes out of his vocal apparatus as a factually correct statement. We'll take a drink for that. We tend to get more generous as time goes with most of the people we talk about, but Robert Carter isn't quite as dumb as like a Kent Hovind or a Matt Powell, so I don't think we'll have to get too generous with it. Because it is
really hard to be lower than those two people.
Oh yeah, I mean, Raw Matt is dumber than either of them, but that's marginal, and I'm pretty sure he's legitimately brain damaged from a combination of breatharianism and MMA.
Well, at least it wasn't concrete.
I mean, for all I know, that's in the mix too. But like, yeah, I'm fairly confident that if you looked at Raw Matt's brain, you would find it was like full of lesions and dead spots.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Does his brain look like Trump's hands right now?
Oh yeah.
Ew.
Goodness. Look,
Topical.
I don't think that that's sufficient to warrant the rumors of syphilis on its own, but like, I don't know, maybe. I'm not going to rule out syphilis, but everyone's like, oh man, he had blood on his hands, therefore syphilis. I'm like, guys, there's like
I don't
other options.
think that necessarily looks like blood. It might just be the dumbass bronzer that he uses, but yeah.
Eh,
It's
maybe.
probably just ketchup from the McDonald's kids menu.
Or from the steak he was eating.
Ew.
Because remember,
Yeah.
he eats the steak with ketchup well done.
The
The
ketchup is the
ketchup
part
is
that
well
I take
done?
issue with.
Or the steak is well done.
The steak is well done, and he has it with ketchup.
Gross.
Yeah.
I eat my steaks well done, so I won't let anybody slander that.
I mean, it's more of like, if you're gonna eat it with ketchup, why are you ordering steak? Just order a burger.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
order a burger. Exactly.
Well, anyway,
Um,
well, let's get through the drinking rules, and we'll get to your thank yous, and then we will get
Okay.
into the Robert Carter. All right, so we will also take a drink if Robert Carter tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen. Now, if he gets a few chuckles on a joke, but we all are like, oh, then we'll probably still drink for it, even though kind of it landed. It's, all these rules are made up and they don't matter. So, like, we can just do what we want. We'll also take a drink if Dr. Robert Carter mixes up the specimen Lucy with just the entirety of our knowledge about Australopithecus or any other larger, wider taxon to which she belongs. That's called ad hominid. We'll also take one for Trojan source if Rob Carter cites a source and then we check the source and it actually actively contradicts him rather than just not supporting him. We'll take a drink. And remember, creationists sometimes cite sources that don't actually contradict them, but they basically never support them unless they're creationist sources. We will also take a drink if any of us can successfully predict where he's going next. Now, I've seen the first few minutes of this recently enough that I'm not going to make predictions for the first, I don't know, like 5 or 6 minutes, which actually might mean just for the whole show. So the predictions might be on Chesh and Vishanti. We'll also take a drink if, what am I missing from him? Jokes didn't land. I think that's it from him. If I have another Dapper's a professional moment, we'll take a drink for that. So, for instance, if we come back from a break and I leave everyone on mute or something, take a drink for that. The Solid Geek 6, Return of the Tunikits, who's been around for 9 months, is at the amniote level. Says, just like and share. Agreed. Do it for the 2 awesome guests. Yes. Yes, please do
I
like and
can
share.
always tell when someone from your community comes over to my streams because of their names.
Yup. Yeah,
I love you guys. You're great.
The names are so awesome. And oh, hey, we have to remind people. Chesh, you're here because I hit another 1,000 subscribers, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
congratulations.
You were here for 10,000, then you were here for 11,000, and now you're here for 12,000.
I'm always here to celebrate the success of people who are cool people that I enjoy.
All right, so there's a few more drink triggers. One is if anyone super chats or milestone chats as a member, anything to the effect that Answers in Genesis are a bag of dicks, we'll take a drink. You do have to be a little bit careful with that because if you just type in Answers in Genesis a bag of dicks, yeah, YouTube's gonna be like, no, you can't send that. So you have to be a little clever. Not be super clever, but at least a little bit. We'll also take a drink if anyone super chats or milestone chats anything that includes the kaiju emoji that we have for channel members. So that includes Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. You do have to be a channel member to get that. And we'll also take a drink for each membership gifted up to about 30 or so. At that point, it's just, finish the beer and go get another one, which is good because in addition to the beer I have now, I have another 4 waiting for me in the refrigerator. Yeah, I think I have 5 total, including this one. So, yep. Because when I got these for Tuesday, I got a 12-pack. Because that's the only way that the store was selling this brand. Was in a 12-pack.
I've got a bottle of wine that I have not cracked yet. And like I said, I'm not feeling very well. So if I crack it, I might be in trouble. So I've got it sitting on my desk staring me like into my soul. So we'll see how this goes.
All right. Well, before we get right into it, I do want to let Vishanti say thank you to the people who have gifted her some things. So Vishanti?
Yeah. The most recent ones from, I think, this last week. Joshua G's, Fits of Rage, and Anne Gladstone, as well as an anonymous benefactor or two.
Awesome.
Some of the items didn't have a note or had an anonymous thing. So,
well, thank you very much to everyone
Thank
who
you
has helped
all.
out. If you want, then Vishanti's wish list, if you will, is linked in the description. So there you go. Feel free to go ahead and peruse that if you'd like. Also, links to both Vishanti and Chesh's channel are in the description. Vishanti's channel does have a video on it. Chesh's
Yay,
has a little bit more than
congratulations.
that.
Don't go to my channel.
Or
You'll
two.
regret it.
Eh.
I promise.
All right. Are we ready for some Robert Carter?
Yes, as ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, it's like, are you going to be more ready anytime soon? No.
No, maybe I could be more ready.
Crack
But,
that bottle of wine, then you'd be more ready.
bruh.
All right, here we go.
First question for you.
Okay.
What's a dinosaur?
All right, so I know everyone here has heard me give like the whole long thing about what dinosaurs are, so I'm not going to go through all of it, right? But there are certain anatomical characteristics of like the skull, the ankles, the hips, the femur, things like that you can use to identify a dinosaur. So, I mean, unless people really clamor for me to actually go through some reasons that you can know an animal is a dinosaur or not, we're just going to go and listen to his and then critique what he says about it. So.
You know, you're not going to let me guess. We're not going to do predictions about what we think
sure.
he's going to say.
Yeah, if you want to make a prediction, go for it.
I think he's going to. Okay, hold on. I'm a little slow today. I think he's going to describe something that's going to be too broad,
Okay.
but also like, so it's either not going to be specific enough, or it's going to be either too broad to be applicable, or it's going to miss a category.
Okay.
How is a dinosaur
Someone said large reptile, and that doesn't work.
different than a crocodile or a turtle or a snake? One big difference is they have different holes in their skull.
Okay, so that is true. But the problem is that if you're talking about paleontology, it's not going to help you completely differentiate dinosaurs from everything else that isn't a dinosaur. Especially when you get into like crocodilians and their relatives. But I'm not willing to say that we have a confirmed prediction yet, because I think he's going to go farther with it than just that. So
The only thing I know about crocodiles is everything that I learned from Waterboy about the Abdullah oblongata being too small and making them more aggressive. I don't even know if that's true.
I don't think it's true, but I've never looked into it. Doesn't sound
Well, I mean, Waterboy told me that wasn't true, and it was in fact that their teeth were too big,
Oh, yes.
and they can't go to the dentist.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that is also not, or I'm pretty sure that's definitely not true.
I'd be more inclined to believe Adam Sandler.
Than me?
No, than the professor in the movie.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I was like, gee, am I a lower rung with like authority on reptilian anatomy than Adam Sandler? That's disappointing.
Oh no.
So when you see a skull, oh, dinosaur, you can just, based on the skull holes.
No, that's the problem, right? So that's what Chesh said was going to happen right there. We're going to take a drink. You can't just look at the holes in the skull and say definitively dinosaur. So there's a whole bunch of things like Lagosuchids and things like that have very dinosaur-like skulls and are not quite dinosaurs. There's this whole group called dinosauriforms that have a lot of the same features that we typically associate with dinosaurs, but they don't have enough of them to actually be dinosaurs. So yeah, that's not going to do it for you. A whole bunch of other
Is
things.
that like the technical term, eye holes?
Well, I mean, orbit is the eye, is the hole for the eye. But they've also got a whole bunch of other skull fenestrae.
That sounds like my kind of technical term.
Right? Let's see. DM More Degrees than Kent Hovenwing for $2 says, Kent, well, that's an interesting question. Yeah, no, Kent has never thought about any of this. So right now, Robert Carter is already several steps ahead of Kent Hoven because he's considered the question, what is a dinosaur? So specifically, dinosaurs have an antorbital fenestra They have nares, obviously. They have orbits, obviously. Those are the things that basically every tetrapod has. They also have superior and inferior temporal fenestrae. And while that collection is very characteristic of dinosaurs, it is also present in other archosaurs. So things like Rausuchus, Adiosaurs, which are like four-legged crocodile-line herbivores. They also have the same set of fenestrae in the skull. So if you go to a museum and you see this particular arrangement of holes in the skull, then yeah, about 80% of the time you're probably looking at a dinosaur, but not always. So, and Ben Thick Tunicate B2022 for £2 says Ben Franklin is the devil. I feel like maybe he's not, but I don't actually know.
No, you gotta do that in the water boy accent.
The water boy voice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chesty.
Will you do it then if you're so
devil.
insistent?
The devil.
The devil,
Foosballs, the devil. Ben Franklin's the devil.
Ben Franklin is the devil. Gatorade.
I like her because she showed me her boobies and it made me feel good.
Oh, we're getting demonetized. That's it.
Gatorade.
Gatorade.
AIG is a bag. Hey, I have to read a membership chat. AIG is a bag of pelagic tunicate who's been a member for 9 months and is at the tetrapod level. Says, just testing, is this a drink trigger? I'm going to go with yes. Because your name is basically a drink trigger, so good job.
Yeah, that's fair.
Here we go.
The other difference is in their legs. Where they had 2 legs or 4, dinosaurs stood up. Alligators don't stand up.
Okay.
So
alligators don't stand up. Can I press X to doubt?
Yeah. So first, it's dumb. We'll take
I have a hot take about this.
Go ahead.
They're basically water puppies, and you know how dogs stand when they're in water sometimes if they're not swimming and they're touching the bottom. That's a crocodile or an alligator standing. Therefore, they do stand. Therefore, this man is wrong.
All right, Vishani, what did you have?
I was going to say that they're standing on all 4 legs. Did he mean stand up on 2 legs?
So what he actually means is, like, if you look on the slide that he has up, right, you can see he's got column length versus sprawling legs. So really what he's talking about is having legs that are like directly underneath the body going vertically, right? Ben Thick Tunicate B2022 has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships and went to Al Trucker Crypto 457, Lady Moonweb, Chesh, and Alex Markle. So let's take 5 drinks real quick. 1.
Hey, thank you.
2. 3. 4. And 5.
Man, we hit the mega stupid this early.
I don't like the slide he's using because I feel like that's what I look like when I'm on my period. I go from standing to being like, no. And then back to standing.
Well, I don't think that would make him decide that you're a dinosaur or anything, so... But,
really? I think it would. I think if you took a picture of me in one stance and showed it to him, he'd be like, that's a dinosaur, especially if you just showed him my bones.
Possibly. So...
I have eye holes in my skull, allegedly.
It's true, you do. Or if you did, if you didn't, then I don't know how your eyes fit inside your face. And I've seen your face, and it has eyes.
Allegedly.
Nice face eyes.
So
my
anyway,
face is just an eye.
The thing is, he's wrong that alligators can't put their legs directly under their body. They can. It's called a high walk, and they actually do it fairly frequently when they're moving over land in order to get a higher speed. It's not super efficient for them because it takes a lot of muscle tension to hold themselves that way. But they can do it, unlike things like lizards, which can't, because they have different hip structures, because crocodiles are indeed archosaurs, which ancestrally were hind leg dominant and tend to have more propensity to upright walking with their legs than did non-archosaur reptiles. So if he had picked a lizard as his contrast, it would have been better, but then he would have had the problem where, like, how do I make sure that people know that crocodilians aren't dinosaurs? Which, yeah, it's one of the reasons why you don't just say upright legs. What is actually happening is that dinosaurs have their femurs going vertically when they're just standing up, but they also have the femoral head at a distinct angle to the femoral shaft, so it's turned in almost 90 degrees, which you can actually see in his diagram, right? The femoral head on that dinosaur on the left turns about 90 degrees towards the midline of the body. Whereas that it does not happen in other Archosaurs. Well, actually, it happens in Pterosaurs to some degree, but not as much. And yeah, but the problem is that other Archosaurs, like especially a lot of crocodilian line Archosaurs, have an upright posture called pillar erect, where the femoral head is actually in line with the femoral shaft, but it's still vertical, and the acetabulum is actually now facing down instead of facing out laterally, and that also results in an upright stance, which is why this doesn't work and why Chesh was right about her prediction. That's what he's going to go with.
Also,
Huh.
I would just like to say to all of my fellow Toast to Toast friends, welcome. We time traveled. I hope you all have your fidgets, and one of the best usernames I've ever seen is working my hands to the bone in the fidget mine.
Yes. By the way,
There's
DM
somebody in the chat that what goes by Kicker White Lion said we're all wrong actually because Rob Carter personally crippled every single alligator on the earth before this presentation.
Oh, goodness. DM More Degrees and Ken Hovenwing for $2 says, when was the last time this stream was monetized? That's a great question. The last time a stream was monetized, so what actually tends to happen most of the time, right?
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't. Is that most of the streams end up getting demonetized, and then they I appeal it, and then it gets remonetized. I think the last time a stream wasn't automatically demonetized might have been it might have been our last LA Marzulli stream. So was that like January 6th?
Of all streams.
I know.
It's not me. I cannot be blamed for this at this time. Somebody asked about a Chesh emote, and yeah, no, Murphy, that's a goblin. That's me.
That's already
that's
the Chesh emote.
Yeah, I've been here for a real long time. You guys just didn't notice.
The Hanukkah time, which was from December 9th, that is still not monetized. The return from the false community guideline strike, that's not monetized still. So yeah, it's very hit and miss. But anyway, we'll take a drink for Chesh getting that, or not Chesh. Yeah, it was Chesh. You made the prediction, right?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. I'm not like tired or out of it or anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Their legs stick out to the side, and if they want to walk, they do a push-up, and then they rest on their belly. So dinosaurs are a unique group of reptiles.
I mean, that
as opposed to resting on their butt.
Well, dinosaurs rested, or most dinosaurs rested on their pubis when they sat down, which is not the butt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's not the butt,
So
but
no?
like it's part of the hip, but it's like the front part of the hip, not the back part of the hip.
Oh, it's like the way a bird kind of sits.
Well, birds are dinosaurs.
What?
I know, right? Take a drink.
Independent of the groups, they're different. Did you just learn something? Yes. Okay. Next question.
Oh yeah, DM reminded me. If we bring up that political party that was in charge of like Germany in like the 40s.
Godwin's law violation.
Yeah, well actually it doesn't technically have to be a Godwin's law violation, because technically Godwin's law is comparing your intellectual opponent to one of those people.
Oh.
And therefore you lose. But for us, it's like anytime they come up at all, we just take it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to actually be accusing their intellectual opponents of being like them. They just have to bring them up, because they bring them up all the time. Although I'm actually kind of wondering if they're going to start changing that, because, you know, for most of the 20th and most of the 21st century, those were like the obvious everyone agrees on as bad guys thing. But given how far right Young Earth creationism skews, and how much sympathy there is apparently for those people now on parts of the American right, maybe they're going to tone down the anti-National Socialist rhetoric in creationist circles.
I mean, look, I've already seen members of the far right still not understanding how language modifiers work, or adjectives, or how policies on the ground were implemented, going, yeah, but socialist is right there in the title. You can't say they're not socialist.
Oh, for a second, I was like, wow, you were going way further into way more like valid conversations than I'm at. But they called themselves socialists, therefore they are socialists. And it's like, yeah,
they are socialists.
Definitely don't.
Yeah.
You have to say what you are, because if you don't, like, what are you talking about?
And again, I've said this before, but just because the word socialist is in there, you have to remember the word that came right before it, which is modifying. That's the national part.
Well, plus
it was socialism nationally, but also National Socialism is a distinct thing. Anyway,
yeah, it's sort of
just pisses me off.
A similar thing happens with the naming of bills, where like you just hear bills that have these happy-go-lucky sounding names, and you look into it and you're like, oh, this is actually kind of terrible. It's like, oh, what are we going to call this one? Let's call it the Sunshine and Puppy Dog Bill. What does it do? Oh, it removes everyone's health care. Oh, okay, yeah. Sure.
And if you say, I don't like this, you're like, you're against sunshine and puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just throw this out here? Stop it. You know these kids can't read.
Yes. A pill punk, half dog, half canine for $2 says, Dr. Robert Carter saying something silly? Shocking. Yes, we're all surprised, Pikachu.
Oh, Pibble Punks made a super chat and they tagged me to let you know that you missed it. It says, Dr. Robert Carter saying something silly? Shocking.
I literally just read that.
They yelled at me, so I read it again.
Well, sorry. I got to it before she yelled at me, so I'm in the clear, I think, maybe.
Yeah, this is one thing I agree. Working my hands to the bone in the fidget mines. Says in the chat, the People's Democratic Republic of North Korea has the best democracy. Exactly. Or else!
It's right there in the name.
Language it dictates what things are rather than what they actually are.
Yep.
Prescriptivism.
What happened to the dinosaurs?
Get me out.
Ooh, what happened to the dinosaurs, everybody? What's panel, what do you think?
I don't know.
Giant rock.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that's what happened.
I don't know. I've heard some competing theories. I've heard that they weren't allowed on the Ark. I heard they wouldn't fit on the Ark. I heard that they were on the Ark and then they died anyway.
Well, I mean,
because of poor planning.
I think Robert Carter's position is that they got on the Ark and then they died shortly afterwards, most of them, and then maybe some of them persisted into like the early medieval period or something.
Why bring them on the Ark at all? So you could trick people later? I heard they didn't even exist and they're just Satan put their bones there for funsies.
I've heard that one too.
I've also heard that God put their bones there for funsies, so man, I don't know.
Yeah, God's just testing your faith by being the biggest troll that could possibly exist.
You know what? At least I would appreciate that. If it turns out the Christian God is just Loki the whole time, that would be pretty funny.
I mean, yeah, I can just imagine getting to the pearly gates and there's St. Peter, he's like, oh, you bought into the dinosaur thing, huh?
He takes the mask off.
Sorry.
He takes the mask off and it was Tom Hiddleston the whole time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you bought into dinosaurs? No, sorry, you're going
Mr. Smithers.
All right, here we go.
The flood? What's the secular answer? What do you hear in the news and TV? A meteor. Does anyone know when that meteor hit?
About 66 million years ago.
1,000 million years ago.
Oh my goodness, someone just said 1 billion years ago, ultimately. I'm hoping that Robert Carter is going to correct
billion.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a joke that landed with this crowd.
Oh.
Jeez. I'm taking a drink for that, even if it wasn't Robert Carter's joke. That was too... I can't. Nope.
Are we going to drink for the sin of them painting over their wall plug things?
Sure, why not? We'll take a drink for it.
No.
There's 4 of them. You can see the wire coming out of one of the blue, and there's one beside it, and if you look directly under the TV, there's another 2.
They just really wanted to camouflage it.
Oh, man. That's not great. Also, is it me?
This is a construction sin. They should have learned this.
Are they in, like, the basement of a warehouse or something? Like, what is this space? I know it's obviously
no,
These are
This
what
is-
modern strip mall churches look like.
Oh yeah,
okay.
these are super classic, like, we built this as cheaply as possible, and there's like nothing behind those walls. There's no insulation, there's nothing, it's just plaster. And you can see like they've got like the really cheap like sunken ceiling with the tilings and the industry lights that are like buzzy and like give you a headache.
Look,
And
if it's up to me, I would prefer a much nicer building for a church, but it's not up to me, and I don't know like what the financial situation is with this group of people. And you know what? I'm not going to criticize too much for them being.
oh,
in a cheap
listen, it's
location.
not that I'm not saying it's cheap because I think the people are poor. I'm saying it's cheap because the church, even if they had the money, would not have spent it.
See, that's the thing.
And also,
I don't know. Like,
they're Protestants. They don't believe in ostentatious churches
yeah,
or
okay.
cathedrals and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm
that's
saying
a
it was
good
an
point.
intentional choice. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, in that case, then I might blame them because that's.
Look at the pulpit.
That's just a normal Protestant pulpit. I see a million of those, and like even in nice churches.
Exactly, that's what I mean. They're like the standard cut and copy paste. That you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Ben Thick Tunicate beat 2022 for £5 says drink Godzilla, Mothra, Ghidorah, a Dapper of Vishanti, a Murphy, and then a whole bunch of AIGs. Except that you probably sent it on your phone, which is why it just shows up as a bunch of characters because YouTube hates phone apps. So we'll take a drink then.
That's funny. I took my drink.
Savage Unicellular Trilobite Cobra for $2 says they camoed it because electricity is the devil. Actually, it said devilly. She said devilly, but
He
that's
wrote
okay.
Devly.
Yeah, it's the devilly. All right,
Divly.
here we go.
I'm going to use evolutionary numbers in my talk because we have to understand those numbers. Right, biblically,
Okay.
the Earth is a little more than 6,000 years old.
Well, that's
Okay, so he didn't correct a billion years. I think
well, he might.
no. I think we should put in a key if he doesn't.
If he doesn't,
Can I raise a concern? He wants to go into the numbers of evolution, but he's not going to the numbers about like the biblically accurate 6,000.
Well, I mean, he did
He's
just say
just
the
gonna
Bible says 6,000.
Right, but he's just going to state that. He's not going to go into the numbers, which would also literally be going into the book of numbers.
Oh, well.
Because nobody wants to sit... Like, church is boring enough. Could you imagine if they regularly read from numbers?
I can't believe that you said that because it betrays the fact that you've never been to like a mega church where it's basically like going to a rock concert.
Who?
What?
Okay, who was it that I said looked like they went to a megachurch that had its own smoke machine?
Wasn't that last week?
Yeah,
Or
it was
on Tuesday.
It was in our chat with Kip Davis. It wasn't on air.
Oh yeah.
He sent me this picture of some guy he was listening to a video from. I'm like, that guy looks like he goes to a megachurch that has its own smoke machine.
I was making fun of somebody the other day, and I said they looked like a youth pastor that sells crack on the side.
Oof. Man, I can picture that too. Kyle
Also, it tells me that you've never read numbers because it's not just census lists.
No, it's not
There's
just
actually narrative
census,
in there.
yeah,
but
Yeah,
I know.
no,
I'm
I
just
know
being
it's not
pedantic.
just census. It was a joke about how it's actually called numbers, and a lot of the time they pull the
I
genealogy.
know. I'm just being
numbers.
pedantic.
Kyle Pratt for
Don't
$4.99
bully
says,
me.
if non-avian dinosaurs live with people, how would humans get themselves killed the most? My vote is trying to pet ceratopsians. All right, so yeah, we'll make a poll out of this. So let's see. We'll start a poll. Let's see. If non-avian dinosaurs
Googling it.
with I'm not googling. I'm
No,
making a
he's
poll.
typing out a poll.
Yeah.
Oh,
How would I mean? There's not going to be a real answer on Google. How would humans get themselves?
Are they not in the book of numbers? Am I just misremembering that there's genealogy in the book of numbers?
yeah. There are.
Oh, okay.
It's not
Your chat,
as
chat's trying to
extensive as Exodus.
chat's trying to gaslight me.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Like, I
they're
know
not
my
as
brain's
extensive.
not like totally on board with what's going on today, but I mean, I'm not that bad.
And yeah, I recognize that Fearmonger and Jillian are roasting me, so I'll take that on the chin.
Now we have a poll. If non-avian dinosaurs live with people, how would people get themselves killed the most? Petting ceratopsians, petting theropods. They would live in peace and turtle. Those are the options.
I got that. I'm going to talk about that in
Turtle
my next talk a little
uprising
bit too.
will begin.
But in the world of secular science, they say a big meteor
You
hit the
mean
Yucatan
science.
Peninsula 65 million years ago.
66? Dude, come on. Okay, to be fair, I don't know exactly when this was filmed. It could
That's
be
an
like,
order of magnitude, right?
oh, it's within an order of magnitude. And I also don't actually know when this was filmed, so I'm actually going to let that one slide because this might have been.
They want to say
like 5 years ago.
66 because they think the 6 number is the bad number if you say it too many times.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the Cretaceous and right before the Tertiary, the modern like era.
Yeah, okay, we're going to take a drink for tertiary. That has not been the current term
Tertiary.
for decades, right?
Is that the right
Well,
word?
creationists are always on the cutting edge of like 200-year-old science.
Yeah, it was the right word in the 90s.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's a drink for
Okay.
still using tertiary here in like the 21st century. Like, dude, come on.
Okay? And yet no one was there to witness it. And here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We just have at least one fossil site, the Tanis site, that's was directly caused by the impact. We have shock quartz, we have tektite, we have worldwide iridium layer. Yeah, who cares about any of that stuff though? Just because it's exactly the kind of stuff you
destroy-
expect.
Yeah, you can't. And nobody was there. We can't tell. There's definitely not a gigantic crater.
Right. I'm taking a drink for all of
Can
it.
can I destroy this argument in half a second?
I don't know, can you?
Did you see the bear poop in the woods?
That was
Did
like-
you step in bear poop?
Chet, that was like 4 or 5 seconds. Come on.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it was more than 1/2 a second.
Somebody clip it.
There you go. Clip it and see how long it took. I'll bet it was more than 1/2 a second. But yeah, I mean, you're right though, right? Just because you weren't there to physically see something or that no human was, that doesn't mean that you can't come to conclusions about it. That's just
Well, especially when you have bear poop on your shoe.
right. Yeah, there was probably.
I'm with Kicker White Lion on this, who says, I was there. How would he prove me wrong? He wasn't there. I was there and didn't see him, so he can't prove me wrong.
That's a good point. That
I
is a good point.
Checkmate.
like that.
And I mean, the thing is, like, no one was there. That's the same like standard of proof that you get from a lot of like flat earthers. Like, well, did you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Well, then that doesn't count. It's like that's not how anything works, dude. Nothing works like that. That if you weren't there to witness it, then it doesn't count. Science doesn't work like that. Your everyday life doesn't work like that, right?
How do you know you witnessed anything?
Yeah, there's a good question.
What
this
is
false memories?
knowledge?
Just get rid of quartz, I guess.
Right?
The turtles that live with dinosaurs are still alive
Turtles.
today.
Who voted turtles? You win.
Well, yeah, there's that. Also, I'm going to take a drink for the turtles that were alive with the dinosaurs are still alive today. For one thing, no, there is no currently living species of turtle that was alive at the end of the Cretaceous, so I'm taking a drink.
I like the idea that there is one turtle that was alive and is still currently alive.
Right? Yeah, just one individual.
It's this one really, really, really old turtle. It's really, really big, and I hear it gives you the power to
Wait.
bend people's energies and souls inside of their body.
Oh, I thought maybe you were going like Dragon Turtle, but you're going with like the Legend of Korra, and oh no, actually there was a
That is the dragon turtle.
Well, the
Yes,
dragon
the dragon
turtle didn't
turtle.
show up though for Aang.
It's called a lion turtle.
It was
Yeah,
it was just Gamera.
but okay, but didn't it show up in the original Avatar: The Last Airbender 2 towards the end?
Yes, at the very, very end, in Deus Ex Machina gave Aang a way out from killing Ozai. I mean, unaliving Ozai.
Yeah.
It earned it.
Literally,
I think it earned that Deus Ex
just
Machina.
Gamera.
Yes. I also like the turtle, the sea turtle that's flying around in space in Discworld. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is. But also, I want to point out that the vast majority of turtle diversity actually did end at the end of the Cretaceous. There used to be much more ubiquity in the side-necked turtle, quote unquote, which most of the turtles that you have alive today, right? They retract their head into their shell in what looks like a straight-in manner, but they're actually bending their neck into like a U shape, so it goes down and then back up. But there's also these turtles, the pleurodile turtles, that are pretty much only in like South America and parts of Australia, where they tuck their neck in by just putting it to the side, and then the shell has an opening there that they can fit their neck into. And most of that group of turtles went extinct. A large number of the sea turtles went extinct. We still have some of the same families, like the same family that the leatherback leatherback sea turtle. Yep, that's it. Like, that family was around at the end of the Cretaceous, but most of its diversity is now gone, and now there's one species in that entire family. So it's actually just not true that turtles were just fine or anything, and it's also not true that any of the same turtles are alive today. There are members of the same broad groups, right? Like I said, we still have a member of the same family with the leatherback sea turtles, but that's not the same thing. Robert Aston, who's been a member for 15 months, says, the immortal turtle is the companion of the immortal Jew. I don't know what that means. But we're going to hit play.
The crocodilians that live with dinosaurs are still alive today.
Nope, that's also not true. There were alligatoroids, and there were, things that were roughly in, Crocodiloidea, I think is the name of the group.
I don't know. I'm still down for an eternal struggle between the turtle from the east and the crocodile from the west that have been alive since the beginning of time.
Nice. Also,
they're both gigantic kaiju monsters.
So I'm going to take a quick drink for
It's
this.
just Godzilla and Gamera.
But also, I do appreciate that the picture he has up is a Cuvier's dwarf caiman, which they're some of the most adorable of all of the crocodilians.
No, Vashanti's 100% right. This guy is literally just describing Gamera and Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent. But yeah, so, like, if you take a look, like, alligator mississippiensis, do we have any fossils of alligator mississippiensis from before the Cretaceous? Or, sorry, during the Cretaceous? No. Not a one. Do we have any fossils of, like, Crocodilus niloticus, the Nile crocodile? Nope. Nope, not a one. We have other species, and we can tell they're other species because they have morphological differences, and they fail to meet the morphological definitions for the modern species. So what Robert Carter is actually saying to you is that there were crocodilians alive at the time of dinosaurs, and there are still crocodilians alive at the time of dinosaurs, which means all he's saying is, hey, did you know that things other than dinosaurs survived the end of the Cretaceous? To which the answer is, yeah, of course. Otherwise, nothing would be alive. That's it. That's all the point he's making, right? Anything else that he's trying to say to you right now? Like, to try to trick you into thinking that maybe Cuvier's dwarf caiman was actually alive at the time of dinosaurs? It's just a lie. And it really kind of pisses me off when creationists do this, because I have trouble thinking that Robert Carter isn't lying when he says this. Because he knows there's no Cuvier's dwarf caiman fossils.
Oh.
So, yeah.
The butterflies that live with dinosaurs are still alive today.
Mothra!
How did butterflies survive?
Mothra.
And dinosaurs
He's just describing all the kaijus.
Mm-hmm. So how did butterflies survive and dinosaurs didn't? First, it's a dumb question, so I'm going to take a drink, because dinosaurs did survive. Dinosaurs made it through the KPG. Most of them didn't. But you know what else is true for turtles and crocodilians and butterflies? Most of them didn't survive either. Right? So, like, the only thing that made it out better than before, like, immediately after the Cretaceous, is basically, like, frogs. Frogs had a weird jump in diversity right after the Cretaceous, and no one really knows why. Other than that, though, everything was absolutely destroyed. Anything that made it through with only a fraction of the diversity it had before, including butterflies. So, how did anything survive the KPG? Well, it varies, right? So, first of all, freshwater habitats were some of the least worse off after the impact. So, on land, about I think it was about 50% of organisms survived on land. In the ocean, it was pretty similar. But in freshwater habitats, it really only cut off about like 10 to 25% of the diversity. Freshwater habitats were actually pretty just fine after the KPG. They went on continuing. And other organisms were organisms that had various abilities to survive for a long time without food, or didn't require much food in the first place. So, for instance, butterflies don't actually need that much to survive, right? As a caterpillar, I mean, yeah, sure, you eat a bunch, but then as an adult, you eat a bit of nectar here and there, and you're fine. But also, it's actually not clear that butterflies survived. Like, the divergence time within Lepidoptera is hard to describe, and butterflies are actually just a particular group of moths. It's not very clear when they diverged. And also, it's not very clear if Lepidoptera had largely specialized as nectivorous at the point of the KPG. They might have also still been feeding on other things in some cases. Like, we have a lot of options as to how butterflies survived. How crocodilians and turtles survived, I mean, again, that's part of that is just yeah, freshwater habitats weren't hit that hard. How did mammals
I think
survive?
this guy's just mad that he can't get any further in his Legend of Zelda playthrough because he keeps dying to Kokos.
That might be. How did mammals survive? Well, a lot of it was just being able to burrow. So even if the plants above the ground are not doing so well, you have access to roots and root-eating insects and things like that in your burrow.
Bugs.
And yeah, like I said, root-eating insects, things like that, worms, stuff like that. All of which can survive
Dapper.
a few years. Oh, first there's a Godzilla. We're gonna drink for the Godzilla. What's up?
I finally heard Godzilla.
Yep. What's up?
Okay, so the immortal Jew thing is a reference to when Jesus told one of his disciples, you know, what is it to you if like one of you
Yeah.
survives until like come back or whatever? And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yep. I just never think about it because
That sounds like an SCP.
it kind of does. But like I forget about
It sounds
as
like an
far as I know,
SCP
it's not
story.
actually like a common belief currently in any church that I'm aware of.
I mean, you also aren't super familiar with a lot of like evangelical woo. So,
I feel like that's not an evangelical
as
thing,
I've
is
met
it?
people who unironically believe this.
Oh, and were they were evangelicals?
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, like people tell me like, "Oh, hey, look at what this evangelical guy said." I'm like, "Who the heck is that?" It's like,
They
unless
also
do-
happen to be socialists that may or may not be national.
because like unless they're doing a lot of young Earth creationism stuff, like I haven't heard of your favorite evangelical like apologist. Like I just haven't. Like someone said something to me about like Gary Habermas, and I was like, I think I've heard of that name before.
Ugh.
Like, but he's such he's all this prominent stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, it's because he gets debunked regularly by people like Pelagia.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing, right? I like Paul, I like his channel, but if he's not doing like young Earth creationism, I'm probably not watching, honestly. Because it's what I enjoy about the channel is when he debunks young Earth creationist stuff, and I can see like maybe some new arguments I haven't thought of and whatnot. But if it's just like, oh look, I think this defense of the Trinity is bad, I'm like, I don't care. Which is not to say you guys shouldn't watch it. If you are interested in that, then go for it. It's just I have other things that I want to watch.
Yeah,
Antediluvian
I think
was
Vadim
accurate
is
in
correct.
the-
It's an urban legend.
Yeah. Says Chicxulub has the highest success rate of demonetizing YEC disproving material ever until AIG. What a suspicious rod-like move. Take a drink.
Take a stiff drink. Ha.
Aha! Well, I mean, this beer is... How strong is this beer? I don't actually know. Does it say anywhere?
Not strong enough.
I don't think it says on the bottle. And I'm pretty sure I threw out the case, so... Oh well.
I've been recently having
Beats me.
people being angry at me, being like, Chech is just a drunk, and I'm like, not drunk enough for you.
Big flood. There's so many unanswered problems in paleontology that when you phrase it this way, you say, wait a second.
Translation. There are things about paleontology we don't currently know.
I think that's correct, though.
Um,
When you point out something like this, people say,
yeah.
wait a second.
So DM, I might have missed this. DM More Degrees than Ken Hoven Wing for $2 says, remind us what Robert Carter's expertise is in turtles. He is a marine biologist.
So it is turtles.
I mean sea turtles.
Some turtles.
Yeah, just some of them.
So then he would know about the
And
turtle
yet when
thing.
you hear the
No, because
Aren't crocodiles also, like, fall under marine biology?
no, because they're not really in the ocean except for a few saltwater crocodiles. But even then,
Was marine biology specifically ocean life?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But also more specifically, he is a marine biologist who specializes in genetic engineering. So one of his big things that he did
What?
was he created a way to get certain bioluminescent proteins to express in like some bacterium or something that can't like he got a bioluminescent protein from like some ocean organism and he got it to like express in a bunch of bacteria or something so that he could then take that protein and use it for like some kind of device for divers or something. I don't remember all the details. But yeah,
He made like a snot flashlight.
I think it was more like a snot like emergency light for like if you need a rescue and you're in the middle of the ocean, so that like rescuers can see
He
you.
made a snot flare?
Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah.
I'm
Cool.
sorry, I'm laughing because I see that the people who understand Judaism are getting why I was talking about the Eternal Jew, because when I heard that, I thought about Elijah, because we look for him at every Passover Seder, because supposedly he's coming back right before Mashiach. And I was thinking of that, and then SEL in the chat read my mind and put cute Eliyahu HaNavi, and now I'm singing Eliyahu HaNavi.
Oh, I see that
Yeah.
chat. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, working my hands. to
Also,
the bone
apparently you're not answering someone's super chat question, even though they're tagging
literally
you.
just did that. That's what I just did when we talked about the stop flashlight. That was
Okay.
me talking about.
I was just reading the chat. I wanted to make sure I followed up.
Okay. But also, working my hands to the bone says, snot chemlight. Yeah, that's actually more accurate. It's more like a chemlight than
Oh,
a
okay,
flashlight.
okay.
DM More Degrees in Ken Hovenwing for $2 says, so he removes golf balls from whales' blowholes. I don't think that's specifically something he's done, but I haven't asked him. I suppose I could. I mean, I do know how to contact him. He did actually apologize to me not that long ago, so I do appreciate that.
Aww.
Yeah.
Presentations given on TV and whatnot, the scientists sound so confident. And
Scientists sound confident when
How
they're saying
dare they
things-
sound confident?
Yeah, scientists sound confident when they have things that they are confident about. They sound less confident when they're not confident about things. So
I understand this criticism from a rhetorical standpoint, because he's trying to make the argument of just because you sound confident doesn't mean you know what you're talking about, which is valid.
Yeah.
It's just he's not applying
Well,
it very well here.
You're also being more charitable than me, because I see through the dog whistle. Fundamentalists that really hang a lot of their... I don't even know how to describe it. They hang a lot of their like self-worth and stuff like that on absolute certainty.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
he's mixing up like confidence in the face of an overwhelming slew of evidence with absolute certainty, when he's like, I'm absolutely certain the earth is 6,000 years old, and I'm absolutely certain about my doctrinal positions. Like, dude, just
Yeah.
stop.
and one of the things is like you can be confident about some things in science and less confident about other things connected to it, right? So if I say I am extremely confident that an asteroid hit off the coast of what is now Mexico 66 million years ago, resulting in the Chicxulub impact crater, the various effects we've seen of it, like tektites and shock quartz and that iridium layer, and it also closed out the end of the Cretaceous. I'm extremely confident in that. Now, if you say, okay, but how did this one specific group of insects survive? I might not be as confident about that, and that doesn't mean that the confidence level in the asteroid goes down, right? Because one of the things about science is just because you answered one question, that doesn't mean that you're done now. Usually what that means is that you've now raised a whole bunch of other questions. But the fact that new questions have arisen because you answered an old one doesn't mean you didn't answer the old question.
Yeah, it's just a language trick, right? That's what I mean when I say rhetoric.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like, well, what is certainty, and what do you mean by certainty, right? When a scientist says that they're certain about something, it comes with a specific connotation. Versus if you say, I'm certain that chicken is on sale at the grocery store, right? Like,
Yeah. DM More Degrees and Ken Hovenwin asked if Carter actually reached out to you, or did you only hear about it from Guts of Gibbon? So I did hear about it first from Guts of Gibbon, and then I went and checked that video to double check that that's what was going on. Not that I don't trust Guts of Gibbon, I just wanted to have the full context in there. He did not specifically send me an email. I didn't really expect one. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it was a public apology. I'm fine with that. I don't need to get like an email from him saying specifically, oh, hey,
water under the bridge.
Yeah. And ultimately, the thing he apologized for, I mean, it could have been really bad, but ultimately it wasn't. So, like,
That's good.
I'm not going to sit here and, like, stress over it. As far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for me. And I think I thanked him for the apology, like, in the comments of that video or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait a minute. We were talking about Enoch in the chat, and there's a comment that Enoch was a whole city that was taken up in heaven. Like, Enoch wasn't a city, that was a person.
That's just what they want you to believe.
Oh, they, of course.
Yes,
Forgot.
right.
Scientists are trained to be confident. They usually have been.
That is like the exact opposite of what is true. I am taking like 2 drinks for that. Scientists are one of the reasons that creationists love to complain about the language like this appears or this suggests in scientific papers, which they love to complain about, is because they think scientists should be more confident about their proclamations. But that is the exact opposite. One of the quickest ways to get laughed out of the room in like a scientific conference or like get your paper completely rejected is being overly confident with your conclusions. Science is all about not going overboard in your level of confidence. The problem is that scientists are confident about things for good reason that Rob Carter thinks are untrue. So he
I think
thinks
the term is check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, that's a big part of science. Like it is hard to find a group that are more circumspect and more willing to admit when they are like what their exact confidence level is, down to like actual math and using numbers to describe their confidence level, than scientists. Science is all about having an accurate assessment of your level of confidence in things and not going overboard. When you start being more confident than the data would allow, that is a quick way to get yourself ostracized from the scientific community. And the fact that Robert Carter is saying that scientists are trained to be overconfident is honestly kind of mind-blowing, especially since he knows. Sorry about that. He knows.
Yeah, if he's a marine biologist, he's been there.
Yeah, he's been there. He's been through the courses. He's published actual papers in real journals. He knows how you cannot be overconfident. Asked to Antediluvian was Eddie Akron Ryu for $4.99 says, in Soviet YECs, scientists don't question facts. Facts question scientists. Nice.
Deep.
Man, in Soviet Russia, that's not been a current joke since what, the 80s?
Oh, it's still a good joke. It's still going.
True. But it hasn't been current events since the 80s, right? Or maybe early 90s?
I guess. Also, I just wanted to correct the chat that Enoch does not come from the same root word as Hain, which is what means like grace or whatever. Hanok comes from a different root.
I thought you were going to say you
related
wanted
to the palate of the mouth. So, yeah, that's a different etymology.
I thought you were going to correct them that Enoch is not, in fact, a transformer. Because I saw that go by.
He's also not a transformer.
Are you sure? Were you there?
Allegedly.
Also, Arter Ems says, are these Young Earth Creationist lectures special rare events in these churches, or are they a common event? So first, the churches generally have to pay expenses, like travel expenses, to get these speakers out there. So they're not terribly common from what I understand. I'm trying to remember back to the church that I went to as a kid, and I think it only happened once in the entire time I was there, maybe twice. So they're not this is not a normal Sunday event, right? This actually might not even be on a Sunday. So I'm pretty sure they're fairly uncommon, and I think that they're more uncommon with a limited budget with this, which this church probably has. Because, if they didn't, they'd probably be in a nicer building, even if they are Protestants. Cosplay Cat for $2 with their third super chat on the live stream says, Dapper, can you turn your mic up to match the rest? Maybe.
Turn the rest of us down.
Well, there's that, yeah. Let's see. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. No, maybe not. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let me see what I can do.
Crypto457 says Megatron's third cousin's roommate.
Nice.
Third cousin's roommate, stepbrothers twice removed.
No, it's like, I am your father's brother's cousin's best friend's roommate, former roommate.
Maybe.
Which makes us absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Which is what you are about to be.
All right, maybe nope, I'm probably still too loud now.
You are about to become. And this is why evil will always win.
Because good is dumb.
Is dumb.
I love that line.
Raspberry.
Hopefully I'm closer now. I don't know, I might be a little bit loud. So yeah. Unfortunately, just because it looks like I'm at the same volume as everyone else, that doesn't actually mean anything in the long run. Because apparently OBS's volume calculations are just chaos. So, you know. Here we go.
Smartest guy in the room the entire life. They're usually full of themselves.
If you think that scientists think of themselves as the smartest guy in the room their entire life, I have trouble thinking he's not just lying, right? Because I know a lot of scientists, and it is hard for me to imagine anyone who has higher problems with things like imposter syndrome and feeling not confident at like a conference or whatever that they're going to than scientists, right? Like
I have a hard time believing this guy isn't just projecting.
Yeah, I'm going to take a drink for like this is basically a story that didn't happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
it happened. It was just him. He's
Well,
the
yeah,
main
maybe.
character.
Yeah, maybe he's the one who's overly confident. I don't know. By the way, tell me how like my audio level is, because now I feel like it's too high, but I can't tell.
You don't sound any different to me, so I don't know.
I can only turn up my volume on OBS. I can't change it really here on Discord. So that's why.
And they stand up there and we now know blah 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 blah. And since we're not scientists, I mean I am, but since most people aren't scientists,
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, we're gonna take a drink for Robert Carter calling himself a scientist. He hasn't been a scientist for decades.
Are we going to also drink for him pulling a George from Seinfeld of yada yada yada?
I mean, do you want to?
No, it's fine.
Okay, then no.
I'm just looking for an excuse.
He's just sitting here going, well, the scientists are saying because I'm a scientist and here's what we know and how we know it, blah, 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 blah. Dude, that's how science works.
Mhm.
Explaining facts and evidence, imagine.
I know. What horrors.
how do we answer someone who seems to know everything and seems to have this answer? It takes a little bit of work. So let's work on this a little bit.
I just love the idea that this group of mostly geriatrics at a church are going to learn enough to be able to counter actual evolutionary biologists by listening to Robert Carter lie about dinosaurs.
For like an hour.
Yeah, like it's not really a drink trigger, but like just the idea that that's a possibility that has ever crossed his mind that he could do for these people is just crazy to me.
Hey, April got the membership to work. Congratulations.
Nice. Congrats.
I have another question for you.
Okay.
What's a species?
Yeah, they're mostly made up. So here's the thing, right? Species aren't real. They're not like an objective thing out in the universe like tungsten, right? Like tungsten's a real thing. You can go get a pile of it, you can weigh it, you can melt it, you can turn it into things. Like that's a real thing that exists. Sure, we might call it something else, right? Like there's a reason its chemical symbol is W. It's because in other languages the word for it starts with a W. But species aren't real in the same way, right? They're real in the same way that like
And there's
human...
different systems.
Yeah, exactly. They're real in kind of the same way that like gender is real, right?
Like asking what is a stew?
Yeah. Yeah, like, or is cereal a soup? Well,
Exactly. What is a stew? Is it actually a stew or is it actually a soup?
Yeah.
I made the argument successfully in my chat during one of my art live streams that mayonnaise can in fact be an instrument.
What?
Yes.
So that's one of the problems, right? Asked Antediluvian was Ediacar in Ryu says scientists are paid to be overconfident. Projection. Yeah, no, absolutely right.
Got him.
So the thing is, yeah, there's no one definition that works in all cases for species, and they fundamentally don't really exist, right? They are useful.
I feel like this is the kind of guy who's like also like goes to his wife and says, "What is a dishwasher?"
Maybe he's the kind of guy who thinks his wife is a dishwasher.
Exactly. That's why it's a question.
I just lost my train of thought. Right, yeah, species don't actually exist, right? They're boxes that humans use to make it easier to talk about groups of organisms. And all of the species definitions are somewhat arbitrary. They all have boundary problems where you get organisms that kind of count but kind of don't, and things like that, right? Like, even if we go with the biological species concept, and say, okay, well, are lions and tigers separate species under the biological species concept? Well, they can make offspring that are mostly infertile, but not entirely infertile, so they kind of meet this biological species definition. Like, okay, well, what about like the morphospecies definition? Well, they seem to meet the definition as two different species under the morphospecies concept. But then again, the morphospecies concept is kind of arbitrary and vague. Like, oh, distinct morphologies. Well, how distinct? Because, I mean, lions and tigers clearly have a lot of similarities in morphology, but they also have some differences. Are they distinct enough? I don't know. There's no answer to that question. So, in some cases, yeah, it's pretty obvious, right? Like, are camels in the same species as humans? Yeah, no. That's probably not the case. But then again, if you use, like, the creationist, can they bring forth definition for kind? You can make the argument that hamsters are in the same kind as humans, because human-hamster hybrids are, in fact, the thing that has happened. That's a real thing.
It's getting a little too Island of Dr. Moreau in here.
Well, if it helps, they have trouble getting... If it helps, they usually can't get to 16 cells before they die.
Okay.
So
I know, it's just like... Ugh.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, they never managed to make it to term, but yeah, they exist. A 4-celled animal is still an animal. It's an actual individual of whatever species. Yeah. And there have been, like, 1, 2, 4-celled human hamster hybrids. Those were living things that existed that were a hybrid of a human and a hamster. So yeah, species are basically made up, is the answer to that question.
Whatever scientists say. Okay, who can define...
Actually, that's right. I mean, that's the thing. That guy is right. We're going to take a drink for that random guy in the church being right when he said, how will the scientists say? Yeah. Because, yeah, ultimately, species are arbitrary, and when the scientists who study a group of organisms come to a conclusion about what species are in the group, that's just the answer. And, I mean, you can disagree with them. That's fine. It's because, again, it's ultimately arbitrary. This is about making it easier for humans to talk about things. This is not about nature itself, right? There's no, like, platonic ideal of what a species is that can then be applied to individual organisms or groups that
I don't know, something about lemmy-winks.
Oh my goodness.
Fine, what do you think a species would be? What's a species? Okay, it's a subset of a genus, but...
That's the real answer, yeah. I mean, that is another real answer.
Yeah,
we'll take another
He's
drink.
not going to accept it. Somebody got it right, and he's going to be like, yeah, but not real. Like,
yeah, but no.
This random guy, as far as I can tell, knows more about biology than Robert Carter does.
Good job, random guy. We stand random guy.
Yeah, this guy's great. All right, April Van Ryn for 5 Canadian dollars, or beaver bucks, as I call them. Says, I learned about Dapper from Chesh, and Chesh from Steve, and Steve from Ken Hovind. I'm batting 500.
No, it says 0.500.
Yeah, okay, good point.
Hey.
Yeah.
What a way to go. What a path. What a journey you have gone on.
Yeah, that is quite the thing. Asked to Antediluvian was Eddie Acker and Ryu for $9.99 says, I refuse to believe baramins are distinct from Luca until a young Earth creationist tells me bacteria isn't one kind and that onychophorans are a different kind from annelids. I mean, onychophorans and annelids are pretty distantly related too. But I've never heard creationists address onychophorans, which, by the way, are they're the velvet worms, and they are some of the most adorable invertebrates that have ever existed. And if I were to get a pet invertebrate, onychophoran or velvet worm would be very high on my list of invertebrates to have as a pet. Because, goddamn, are they cute.
I've got too many invertebrates that I've been talking about on YouTube recently. I need a break.
Fair. Are any of them named Steve?
Maybe. Allegedly.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Thank you very much.
What's a genus? No. How do we define what a species is? Darwin wrote a book called The Origin of Species. What is that?
Good question.
The guy answered you already.
Yep.
The word means type.
That's true. In Latin, it does mean the same thing as type or kind. That's why in the Vulgate, the same word that in English is usually translated as kind, like from the whole baramin thing that they like to talk about. Yeah, it's often translated as species in the Vulgate.
Did that guy just legitimately do that thing where he rejects real an actual legitimate answer to get to the answer that he wants for his presentation?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Fearmonger asks, is it even possible to buy a velvet worm? As far as I know, it is, depending on where you are. Which is the case for, is it legal to buy pretty much anything that you name? Is it legal to buy a rhino? It is, depending on where you are. Is it legal to buy a nuclear weapon?
Is it only illegal if you get caught?
Well, I mean, that's everything, right? It's only illegal if the cops find out. Which, by the way...
And then sometimes, if you have enough money, it's not anyway.
Speaking of cops, never talk to the cops.
If you have enough money to buy a rhino, you're probably in the clear.
If you ever think that maybe you should talk to the cops, you shouldn't, unless you have a lawyer currently present. And the lawyer okays what you're about to say. Don't talk to the cops.
The people I talk... Sorry, Vadim. The people I talk about and look at on my channel on a regular basis are worse than that.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get myself another, maybe a couple bottles of beer just in case. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to go do that squat thing that he showed on the slides.
All right, when we come back, we will get back into more Robert Carter after I give my quick little, commercial thing. So, yeah, we will be right back. And in the meantime, please enjoy the musical stylings of one Bent Hovind.
Yay.
So, yeah. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with me. I think almost everybody did. I really do appreciate it. I, in fact, appreciate it so much that I want to point out that we just had 5 memberships gifted by Savage Unicellular, Trilobite Cobra, who those went to Vadim Slamovsky Radchenko, Pseudodidact, Katina Pack-Bays, Cindy Bidwell Glaze, and The Fallen. So we'll take 5 drinks for that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you very much. Also, I did end the poll. If non-avian dinosaurs lived with people, how would humans get themselves killed the most often? The winner was, in fact, petting ceratopsians with 37% of the vote. Then petting theropods and turtle was tied at 28%. And they live in peace got only 5% of the votes. So apparently, most of my audience is not okay with living in peace with the dinosaurs. Which, I don't know how I feel about that.
No. That was not the question. The question was not whether or not they would want to live in peace with dinosaurs. The question is, how would people die? And that would be like attempting to live in peace with them by petting them.
Okay, that's fair. That's okay. Fair enough. All right, before we dive right back into Robert Carter, there is I want to give my quick post-break thing, which is to say, guys, this channel is almost entirely supported directly through the support of my viewers, whether it be through super chats, memberships, joining the Patreon, whatever. If you are currently not someone who is financially supporting the channel, but you're interested in doing so, and you can afford it, I want to make that very clear. I am not expecting anyone, to give money that they cannot afford to lose. But if you do have money that you can afford to lose, and you think you would like to use some of it to support the channel, there are a number of great ways to do that. One of the first ones is Patreon. On Patreon, you can start as low as $1 a month. You can get a 15% discount if you go annually. And at just $1 a month, or just over $10 a year, you can get early access to months worth of videos. You can get access to the Discord server where it's the only Discord server I check daily. It's actually much more than daily that I check it. You can also get your name in the credits at certain higher levels, like at $5, I'll put your name in the credits, things like that. So that's a great option. There's also the channel memberships. There's a join button right below this video. It starts at $1.99, and the perks are basically the same. You can go up to $20 there. On the Patreon, you can go all the way up to $100 if you really want to. But if a monthly or annual thing isn't your thing, but you still want to help the channel out, there are still other ways. Super chatting, super thanks are always great. There's also, I have a wish list listed in the description. There's also, so does Benthoven, if you like Benthoven from Kent with Bent. He's got a wish list in there too. So if you want to help out that way, it's always nice to get something from the wish list. A lot of the stuff on my wish list is just stuff that is going to help me with like relaxing and avoiding burnout, honestly. Because I don't know if you know, but YouTube burnout is a real problem for YouTubers. It happens kind of a lot, and I have gotten close here and there. But yeah, I try to not burn out. So yeah, and if none of that's... Oh, I also have a merch store. There's a merch store. You can get hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, stickers, blankets, pillows, towels, phone cases, stickers, all sorts of stuff. So there's that. The merch store is linked in the description. And if if you're not able, or would rather not support financially at all, that's absolutely fine. Please just like this video, share this video, and help the channel grow. Because for one thing, fastest way to get Chesh back on is to get me to 13,000 subscribers. Right? So, like, let's see. How far do we have to go? Yeah, we have to get 989 more people to subscribe, and then Chesh can come back on.
Watch this. You're going to breeze right past it and get to 15, and that's going to mean that I have to run the show one day.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. All right, we're going to get more Robert Carter in, unless either you, Chesh, or you, Vishanti, have anything to add.
No, I'm good.
All right, here we go.
To the biologist in me, I say if two things can reproduce, they're the same species.
Okay, so humans and hamsters are the same species, according to Robert Carter. That's not dumb. I'll take a drink. Welcome to the same species as hamsters there, Bob.
To a geologist, they say if two things look different, they're different species.
That's a paleontologist. I'm taking another drink for not knowing the difference between geologists and paleontologists.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And
he's giving us history.
And he's giving a talk
Frightful.
about dinosaurs, right? You'd think he'd brush up on paleontology versus geology when giving a talk about dinosaurs, but apparently not.
You think the biologist would know the difference between these things?
Yeah, you would think.
Oh, by the way, Ink Boy for €2 says incoming Bilbo.
Nope, not currently. I'm seeing well more than enough likes to avoid a Bilbo. In fact, I don't think that Bilbo has been appropriate at any point this entire stream, which I do appreciate. Because remember, a like a day helps keep the Bilbo away. Or I guess a stream? I don't know.
Do we get something special if we go the other direction and get, like, maybe Bombadil or something?
I mean, if you know any great Tom Bombadil quotes that we can get if we have more likes than viewers, then I guess, sure.
I'll go looking.
Okay.
If I don't forget.
There's different ways to define the word.
Yeah.
Here's 11 ceratopsid genera, actually. 11 ceratopsid species. Everyone's familiar with Triceratops. Most of you don't know the others.
I mean, I probably do, but I can't read them from here, nor are the pictures clear enough for me to actually identify them, although I think I see a Styracosaurus in the bottom of the middle column, but okay.
There are more ceratopsids in the world. Microceratops is not there. Protoceratops is not there. There's this group of dinosaurs. Can you see how they're all similar?
I mean, yeah, especially when you just stick to Neoceratopsians in Ceratopsidae.
And only show us their heads.
Yeah, like if you were to actually show the wider diversity, like Leptoceratopsidae, Protoceratopsidae, then it would become less clear that they're all the same. But by sticking to just Neoceratopsian ceratopsids, yeah, sure. They all look very similar, Robert. For $4.99, Asta Antediluvian was Eddie Acker in Ryu says, if Dapper checks the like-viewer ratio and it's more than 1 to 2, does Dapper get Bilbo'd? Godzilla. Sure, maybe I get Bilbo'd in that case. Take a drink.
What I want to know what that means. What does it mean when to get Bilbo'd?
Oh, you'll just have to, hang out more on the streams where people get Bilbo'd.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, just watch more of my streams. Chesh.
They have a beak, they have maybe a horn or two, they have a frill. When you find bones of these animals...
By the way, a beak, a horn, and a frill, that's just marginocephalia. That includes, like, Pachycephalosaurus and other Pachycephalosaurid dinosaurs. So you're going to have to be way more specific than just a beak, a frill, and maybe some horns.
Oh, sorry, I got one over here too. When you find bones of these animals, you can say, that's a ceratopsid. You can find a toe bone and say, that's a ceratopsid toe bone.
I mean, experts could. I don't think Robert Carter could. I couldn't.
You
and how certain would they be about that?
I mean, depending on like whether it's like a Neoceratopsian or like a more basal member of the group, that's going to depend, right? Like if it's like a Chasmosaurine or something, then yeah, they can probably be very confident. But if we're talking about like I don't know, like a Leptoceratopsid, it's probably going to be less confident because there's going to be a whole lot more morphological overlap between that and basal like Pachycephalosauroids or something like that, like other members of Marginocephalia. So yeah, it's going to depend. It's almost like evolution is true, because as you go back in time, Marginocephalians become more and more similar to each other, as opposed to the distinct forms that they took in the late Cretaceous. Weird, right?
Isn't necessarily, but here's another problem. These guys are dead.
Sure, that's true. We'll take a drink.
Okay.
I cannot breed these in a zoo. I don't know if
So?
they'll hybridize or not.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is...
He's just going in with the biological species concept. Is the biological species concept to rule them all? Yep. All these scientists. How
do I know these are the same species? If he's wait, no, hold on. He's arguing against his own argument. He said if they could breed together, then they're a species, and now he's explaining that he can't possibly know if they're a species together or not because he can't directly breed them in a zoo.
Look, it's pretty simple, right? There's all the scientists, all the biologists were toiling away coming up with species definitions that might work for different groups of organisms and in different fields, but they were all of them deceived. For in secret, Robert Carter forged his own species definition that would rule them all, called the biological species concept. And now that's the only species concept that matters. Yes, I did mostly just want to paraphrase Galadriel from the opening of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, look, Galadriel's pretty cool in those movies, so
This is true.
yeah. Okay, for $5, Savage, the unicellular trilobite cobra, says, young Earth creationist experts holding a bison ladifron's horn. Is this a ceratopsian? Yeah, that was Mark Armitage, and I loved it that when he was asked about that, I think he was on like Donnie Badinsky's channel or something. He's like, well, bison horns don't have a bone core. And I was just like, jeez, dude, yes they do. What is wrong with this guy? I loved it. His answer to how do you know this wasn't a bison was like, well, see, I don't understand bison anatomy, so there you go. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Great logic.
The geologists are using a different definition than the biologists.
Again, it's paleontologists, but okay.
But evolution's all about biology.
Yeah.
Oh my, this is so dumb.
Okay, we're going to take a drink for him. He's just doubling down on the conflation between geology and paleontology.
Everything is history because as soon as you're trying to observe something, it already happened.
That's true.
Fight me.
That is. I'm not sure that means it's history. As someone with a history degree, but
It happened in the past, therefore history.
The historian in me is kind of dying a little bit.
I know, that was the intention.
Oh, thanks.
Oh. So here's another question for you. How many species are here?
Like in the picture, what is this, a CAPTCHA?
I think it's a Great Dane, or no, I mean, I think it's a Great Dane and a long-haired Chihuahua? It's hard to see.
I don't know, there's lots of different types of trees and grass. Does species of plants count?
Yeah, I think he's only talking about animals because people only care about animals. April Van Ryn for 2 beaver bucks says, I'm not drunk enough for this bull spit. Godzilla, well, there's a Godzilla, so we'll take another drink. I mean, look, the quickest way to get everyone drunk is to just gift a whole bunch of memberships. Mark A. Smith, who's been a member for 12 months, thank you very much, and who's at the tetrapod level, says, by the way, how do you like the snifters I got you? Oh, those are great, actually. Yeah, I'm not drinking brandy right now, but no, they're a nice size, so that I don't have to feel like I need to have like a ridiculous amount of brandy in them, because I've had some like overly large snifters before, and it's not great. But like they're a nice size, they're easy to hold, and I think they transfer like a good amount of the body heat from your hand into the actual brandy, because that's one of the reasons that you have a snifter, right? So you put the stem between your middle and ring finger, and then you're supposed to transfer some body heat to help kind of release some of the aromatic chemicals that are dissolved into the brandy, so that it has a better aroma. And that also enhances the flavor because as you lift it up to your mouth to drink it, right? Like your nose is supposed to slightly go inside the glass, which will get those aromatic compounds into your nose to help enhance the flavor. And so, yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good combination of that. So I'm quite happy with them. So yes, thank you very much.
I'm just thinking about all the bacteria that live on my face, which probably means there's probably a lot of bacteria on that dog in that picture.
Almost certainly, that is true.
How many species?
Yeah, but anyway, for the species, it's 2, and there's a few reasons for this. One is, so according to the biological species concept, those 2 organisms can't actually reproduce together. There are pre-zygotic barriers to those 2 organisms reproducing, and I'm just going to assume that they are compatible in terms of sex, right? That there's a male and a female there.
Sure.
Neither of them are like intersex or neuter or spayed or anything like that, right? We'll just assume that. But the reason that we consider them in the same species primarily is because they both exist in a continuum through which gene flow can occur across the entire continuum, even if those 2 particular individuals can't reproduce together. So there are ways to get Great Dane genes to mix with Chihuahua genes without any kind of artificial insemination or genetic engineering or any kind of trickery, right? You just have to go through several generations, but you can still get Chihuahua genes into the same animal as Great Dane genes without any kind of weird shenanigans. So yeah, they're the same species because of that continuum. However, if all dogs but Great Danes and Chihuahuas were wiped out, then I would argue that, yeah, now we have 2 species, and we should probably come up with a species designation. So yeah, it's almost like species aren't real, and they're kind of arbitrary and squishy and ill-defined.
And relative.
Yeah, it's all of those things.
That's the world's largest dog standing next to the world's smallest dog.
That is not the world's largest dog.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's... Yeah, isn't the Irish Wolfhound bigger than the Great Dane?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not even the only one.
Yeah.
If
I mean, Great Danes are big. There's a reason they're called. Yeah, it's not the biggest.
paleontologists found bones of these animals in the fossil record and didn't know what dogs were, there's no way they would put them in the same species.
That's true. Take a drink.
Because Charles Darwin told us that species change very slowly over millions of years.
That's not why. Jesus Christ, dude. Do you think that species weren't defined in the paleontological record before Charles Darwin? You think before Charles Darwin there was no
paleontology is? He thinks it's geology.
That's a good point. Oh my god. This is too stupid. I'm taking another drink. Just because I'm thinking about this and it's making me hate this even more. He had more degrees than Ken Hovenwing for $2 says, is he suggesting ceratopsians are artificially bred? I don't even know, man. He might be. Maybe like...
That's actually a good point in the chat as well. The word big is very subjective. Big in what regard?
Yeah, I mean, Great Danes are big until you compare them to whales, then they're tiny.
Well, they're also, like, even amongst, like, are you measuring by height? Are you measuring by weight? What are you big in what regard?
Yeah, there's definitely dogs that are shorter than that Great Dane, but heavier, right?
Big
like,
as in they're sitting in your lap?
Yeah, like a Saint Bernard is going to be heavier than that Great Dane, but it's not going to be taller. So, yeah. Yeah, this is...
These breeds didn't even exist 50 years ago.
Wait, really?
What?
I mean, Chihuahuas stretch back in some ways to, like, pre-Columbian times, but then again, like, yeah, I guess American Kennel Association recognition might not have happened, but yeah, I press an X to doubt on that one. Although it's also not true that the majority of the Chihuahua genome seems to stretch back to pre-contact dogs in Mexico, because pretty much every original pre-contact breed of dog, or land race of dog, depending, has had so much admixture from the more prevalent now New World dogs that, yeah, those genomes are pretty much swamped out by Old World dog genomes, which is kind of unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Kyle Pratt for $1.99
This is like trying to argue what's the best bird. Best at what?
Yeah. Kyle Pratt for $1.99 sends their third super on a live stream. Thank you very much. And it is a blank super chat. If you did mean to send a message and you forgot, just do tag me and I'll be honest.
Put a sticker.
I was going to say I'll try to read that out, but I'll be honest. Vishanti will notice it more likely than I will, because Vishanti is really good at keeping track of chat.
Yeah. Well, most of the time.
I mean, you're better at it than I am pretty much all the time.
No, Kyle Pratt is just saying in the chat, go kayaking, Dr. Carter.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if that means something.
Oh, that's funny. Because he just did a debunk, quote-unquote, / apology, quote-unquote, video while he was kayaking.
Yeah, he
made
did.
me laugh.
Oh.
I'll be honest, I actually kind of like his on-location videos, because it adds some variety to his channel, and I appreciate it. And sometimes he goes to cool places. Like, I like that clock shop he was in one time, because they're just full of cool clocks.
I will always say, like, kayaking and filming yourself is going to be better than driving and filming yourself.
Oh, definitely. You're way less likely to kill someone.
Mm.
There's a documentary about Charles Darwin that I watched, and it's okay, but he's got a pet golden retriever. I'm like, ugh. Goldies did not exist in the 1850s.
That's true. I have checked on that.
It's a new breed. Anyway,
being right.
Don't ever ask me to watch science fiction with you.
Don't worry, I wasn't going to.
Knowing that there's a lot of variability in one... Oh, by the way, these are gray wolves.
Technically true. We'll take another drink.
Not red wolves and not coyotes. Dogs have been bred from gray wolves.
The red wolf as a species is iffy, but yeah, if it is a species, dogs didn't weren't bred from them.
Genetically, that little chihuahua is a wolf, and it thinks it is. Okay.
Sure.
That was kind of a joke.
Did it land enough for us to not take a drink, or do you want to take a drink for a joke?
Not in our group. It landed in the room, though.
I think we can not drink for it. Let's see.
These people are like regularly. The people that you cover are not good at telling the joke. That could have been a good joke, but he's not good at presenting a joke. So because he's not good at presenting the joke,
True.
it flops.
Pillowpunk, half dog, half canine for $5 says, Mastiffs have existed for thousands of years, and Great Danes specifically were very popular among German nobility in the 18th century. Oh, all right. Well, let's take a drink for him being absurdly wrong about Great Danes.
Yay. That also, the Great Dane may or may not be crossbred with a Dalmatian.
So it's possible. But
I'm teasing.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure that
Great Danes often have spots.
Yeah, they spotted is one of the acceptable coats.
I'm just saying we don't know because we're not giving any information. It may as well be Pongo from fan art of Pongo from the movie.
I certainly don't have the pedigree in front of me, so you know.
How much morphological diversity is within one known species, and knowing that these...
Okay, jeez, I'm going to take a drink for how stupid this is.
The reason I said Pongo, by the way, is because we can indicate we indicate that it between Pongo and Purdy by the color of their collars. Pongo's got a red one, Purdy's got a blue one.
Oh, you said collars. I thought you said the color of their colors, and I was like, wait, what?
That would be confusing.
That must be your thick Canadian accent. Okay, so dogs are a really bad example of like the kind of morphological diversity you tend to find in species, right? Because dogs are absurdly morphologically diverse in ways that normal species just never are, because specifically of weird human interference, where humans select for like gross anatomy with almost complete disregard for things like health, survivability, fertility, and things like that, right? Like there are numerous dog breeds that cannot reproduce without human intervention physically. Like American bulldogs. A male American bulldog cannot successfully mount a female American bulldog and inseminate the female American bulldog. It's physically impossible. All American bulldogs that become pregnant are made pregnant through artificial insemination. All of them. Let's see. Reverend Hal, at least by other, American bulldogs.
Why don't they protest that instead of like Planned Parenthood then? Yeah, as if that's not messing with God's creation.
I mean, they care less about dogs than humans, is probably the answer to that.
That seems like that's not what is supposed to be the case.
Look, I mean, I'm not protesting either, so, like, I can't completely tell you why, but my guess is because they just care less about dogs than humans, and they are going to say that human embryos are human, which is technically true. And then they're going to say that humans therefore have personhood, which is iffy, and that therefore
maybe they should be protesting all of them then.
Look, I'm not going to tell them what to expand their protesting of dumb stuff.
I would rather see evangelicals protesting against the mistreatment of animals.
I mean,
than people trying to get help for syphilis.
Well, maybe if it comes out that number 45 actually does have syphilis, then suddenly they'll start caring about syphilis.
Hey.
Reverend Howell for £2 says, Yo, low to my parasite, Tomos Guilfi, worst dog ever? I'm sorry about that being the worst dog ever. I hope I got all of that. DM artificially selected Ceratopsian wing. Yes. Oh my god. So species aren't real. Dog breeds doubly so. Turtles. And yeah, that's another thing is dog breeds are just arbitrary lines that humans have drawn around certain groups of dogs and decided that's it. That's a breed. Mark A. Smith for $5 says, assume nothing, question everything, start thinking Seth Andrews with a Godzilla. Yeah. I mean, actually, I do think there are some things you can assume, like the objective reality of the external universe and things like that. But yeah, for the most part. Are we
jumping into philosophy now?
Well, science is a branch of philosophy, so yeah, we've always been in philosophy. Yeah. In fact, you can't not be a philosopher. Everyone's a philosopher. Some of them are just not very... Some people are just not very conscious of it, right?
Some of them are just elitist.
Well, yeah, some of them are elitist. But yeah, if you are a person who exists in the world, you have a philosophy. You might not be able to articulate it well. You might not be able to name it. You might have never thought about it, but you have one. I guarantee it.
I think, therefore, I am.
Yes, cogito ergo sum, or cogito ergo sum, which is my favorite Latin pun. I'll let you guys out in the audience figure out what the difference is between cogito ergo sum and cogito ergo sum. I bet Vishanti knows.
Things did not exist a short time ago. We know species change rapidly. Demonstrably.
Yeah, under artificial selection, do you have an example of an organism reaching the extremes of morphology of the Great Dane and the Chihuahua in nature over that same period of time? No. Okay, then why are we using dogs as a good example of evolution as if they were typical, right? They're a good example in that you can show how much evolution can change an organism. But if you want to say that their rate of change of morphological diversity in dogs is typical of natural species in the world, yeah, it's just not. It's very obviously not. Even most other domesticated species don't have this range of morphological diversity, right? Like, does Apis mellifera, the honeybee, have this level of morphological diversity? No! No, it doesn't. Do cows have this level of morphological diversity? No! No, they don't. There aren't cows that are like 2 orders of magnitude bigger than other cows out there. I mean, as adults. Asta Antediluvian was Eddie Acker and Ryu for $4.99 says, until AKC stops demanding that German Shepherds have hip problems, yeah. They are the European royalty of Canis lupus / HJ? I hope that's not the HJ I'm thinking of, because that might get me demonetized again.
I don't know how many species there. There might be just one.
No, it's like the old guy said that answer your question. It's however many the scientists say there are, because species are fake.
Okay, but I have a question. He showed both of those dogs in full view compared to each other, side by side. He didn't take just their heads and blow them up to be the same size.
That's true. The heads of
to
a
then
chihuahua.
compare them to see if they looked similar enough to be considered the same species.
Yeah, it is correct that the head of a Chihuahua and the head of a Great Dane are more similar than the heads of these ceratopsians. But then again, the post-crania of the ceratopsians are actually probably more similar to each other than they were for the dogs. So, like, it's a little bit weird that he didn't just do a full body to full body comparison for both groups.
That's not weird. It's dishonest, and he's doing it on purpose.
He's
doing it on purpose. If he's going to specifically make slides and flick back and forth between them and say that these ones look all the same because I've cropped out just their heads and have not shown any indication of their relative size, and then I'm going to click over to 2 full-bodied pictures of these 2 dogs side by side relative to each other, and then flip back to the dishonest display of just heads, he's doing it on purpose. If he wanted to make this comparison and show it legitimately, he would have to show either the same thing for the bunch of Triceratops, or he would have to do the heads of just those dogs and put them side by side at the same rate. He's not doing that. This is intentional.
I will say this. I don't necessarily think you're wrong. However, I'm a little bit like, I can see.
Okay, fine. He's either intentionally do it, and he's either doing it intentionally to be dishonest and therefore stupid because he thinks nobody's going to notice, or he's just dumb.
I would say he's either dishonest or sloppy. Is what that's the options I would go with. Because I can see how this might end up if you're just being sloppy with it and you're not being careful. But I can also see how this could be intentional dishonest. Yeah,
that's
okay.
Just being dumb.
Maybe. Yeah, that's fair.
I will die on this
trail mix
hill.
means half joke? That's not what I was thinking of. Yeah, trail mix is like /HJ means half joke? Aw, that's disappointing.
Oh.
That's not the one I was thinking of. It's actually not. It's not disappointing. Pillow Punk, half dog, half canine for $5 says, there is currently a project by the Swedish Kennel Club to correct the horrible health problems of English bulldogs through better breeding practices. Well, that's good. Look.
That's good.
There's a bunch of breeds right now that have horrible, horrible health problems because of the nonsense humans have done. Like with the weird slope back German Shepherds, the pugs that just can't breathe anymore. Because pugs, like 100 years ago, did not have these breathing problems. They had normal looking snouts. And they were a little short, but like they weren't like Okay. I was once talking to a vet tech, right? Veterinary technician. And she was telling me how most dogs can't wait to get intubation tubes out if they start to wake up from anesthesia, except pugs. Pugs will fight to
Oh.
keep their breathing tubes in because it's the first time they've ever been able to take unlabored breaths in their entire lives.
Yikes.
Yeah. Like, think about how horrible it is to be a pug, where when you get intubated, you're like, yes, this is amazing. I want to keep this intubation tube in for the rest of my life.
Is there a reason why there isn't like a tubing device that you could insert and leave for them?
I mean, probably because, like, one, there isn't demand for it because it wouldn't look cute, and two, it would probably take a lot of work to keep it, like, sterile and whatnot.
Okay, I was just thinking about like the same way, like, because like I know there's like procedures you can get to like get tubes put in your ears to clear pathways and stuff. So I was wondering if maybe like the same thing could apply to pugs if you cared enough.
That I don't know. Yeah,
that's fair. That's totally fine. It was an offside question anyway.
Yeah.
The Bible doesn't use the word species.
It does if you read it in the Vulgate, as we've demonstrated multiple times on this channel. Whoops, let's take a drink for that lie. Now, the Bible absolutely uses the word species if it uses the word kind. Let's see him say it uses the word kind, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to come next. But Asta Antediluvian was Eddie Acker and Ryu for $4.99 says, so many breeds, if you just let them not breed like the Habsburgs, would be healthier. Gotta hate the American Kennels. What does the C stand for? American
Kennel Club.
Club, there it is. Sometimes, especially on behalf of my shepherd. Yeah, the AKC are... I'm not a big fan. It's not something I talk about a lot, but like, yeah, the horribleness that we've put dogs through as a result of like trying to win dog shows and like the AKC is it's just absurd, and I hate it.
It uses the word kind.
Yep, I predicted it. We'll take a drink. Hey, Vishanti, you read all of Genesis in Hebrew, right?
All of it in Hebrew? Personally? God,
At least most of it?
most of it.
Okay. From your expertise in the Hebrew of Genesis, which is significantly better than mine and way, way better than Carter's, does the word kind, the English word kind, does it appear anywhere in like the Masoretic text of Genesis that you're aware of?
The English word kind?
Yeah.
No.
What about the Latin word species?
There's no Latin in the Hebrew Bible.
Okay, but what about in the Septuagint? Does the English word kind come up?
Nope.
What about the Latin word species?
Yeah, there's no Latin in the Septuagint either.
Weird. So, would it be fair to say that if I said that the word kind was in Genesis, on the basis that it is in there in a translation into English, but not the original, that if I also found the word species in a translation into a different language, that it would be just as equivalent to say that the word species is in the Bible as it is to say that the word kind is in the Bible?
I mean, this is outside my
I know, but we
area
don't
of
have like
expertise.
Kip here or anything, so you're the closest
That's
I've got
true.
right now to Kip.
Can I provide a bit of an analogy?
If you'd like.
I've been recently watching people arguing about translating and localization of like Japanese anime into English. And a bunch of like right-wingers are very angry because they think or they suspect or they have imagined that these script writers and the people who write the closed captions are pushing an agenda or pushing some kind of politics into the translation. Of course, they're completely misrepresenting the situation, but if that were the case there, is there a reason for maybe extreme literalists of the Bible to take issue with something like people pushing a specific translation or a specific version of a translation of the Bible onto people for political reasons?
I mean, yeah, I think there's probably some parallels there. It's certainly the case that most translations of the Bible have a theological assumption or a set of theological assumptions behind them that they use when translating, whereas some have much less of one. Reverend Howell for £2 says Borrelli gene stuff better than tail/ear cutting. Honestly, I don't know. That's hard for me to say.
Situational. So, like,
Yeah.
specifically, we're talking about, like, if you're talking about dog breeds, which I'm assuming you are, a lot of the reason why, like, specific dogs have their tails and ears cropped is for the purpose of not getting the dog injured in the job that dog is meant to do. So, specifically, like, guard dogs or, like, farmstead and homestead dogs have their tails and ears cropped so that way when they are defending the homestead from things like coyotes, their ears and tail do not get grabbed by those coyotes. So it's for those reasons. And so, like, the things with, like, Dobermans, right? Dobermans are, like, the classic guard dog with the cropped ears. The reason their ears are cropped initially was not for aesthetic purposes, although there are people who do it for aesthetic reasons now. The initial purpose and the purpose for a dog with a job is specifically to help protect that dog from either dying or getting further injured.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, there's a situational thing. Although I will say it's hard for me to say that cropping a dog's tail is worse than making a dog that can't breathe.
That's a
because, like, okay, that's some pain and suffering for a few weeks versus a lifetime of basically having asthma. Like, imagine having your entire life be an asthma attack. Would you rather have that, or would you rather, like, lose a finger? I'd take the finger loss, thank you. Alex Sparkle asked if we could crowdfund an accurate apolitical translation of the Bible. I mean, I don't know, you probably could.
That's not a thing.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Like, everyone's going to come in with a bias.
Well, it's not just that, but all language is political.
I mean, I guess
it will be relative, I think, is what you mean, right?
I mean, like, the message of the Bible
no
is
matter what you're doing, it's going to be relative.
Political because even things like, for instance, the way that gendered nouns work.
Yeah. Plus, good luck getting the Hebrew Bible to not be political when so much of it was written for political reasons in the first place.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah, like,
politics being the intention is you can't really remove the politics out of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
in,
having
like, history and warfare, but also, like, giving laws about food and dress. That's identity politics, because you're trying to make a distinct identity that's separate from surrounding people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so,
even the creation story and the flood are polemics and adaptations of other, like,
I mean,
surrounding myths.
You might be able to say, like, a translation in which the translators are minimally biased by current day politics, but it's still going to have political messages in it. So, I don't know.
But using additional politics that weren't originally there, Alex Markel says. But also, again, that's just really not a thing because there are politics that we don't even know about.
Yeah, well, that is one of the problems, right? Is that there are political stances that you take as a background assumption and you're not even consciously aware of, but that will come through.
I think Cerulean nailed it. We can translate the words, but not the context.
I mean, that's also
some of
true,
the context has been lost. Not all of it, but some of it.
All right, well, I'm going to hit play. We don't have too much longer in this.
Yeah, I was going to say we actually started early, so we should probably wrap early, but...
Yeah.
These things reproduce after their kind. These things reproduce after their kind. These things reproduce after their kind.
If only you had a definition for kind. Taking a drink.
Kind.
Takes on species, hypocritically shifts to kind.
Mm-hmm.
So the creation is basically, we have this idea called a baramin, a created kind in Hebrew.
Baramin's not a word.
No, and also, if you just take bara and mean, it does not mean a created kind. It's a sentence that means a kind created. That's specifically what that sentence means. Right? Hebrew is verb, subject, object. You're not saying bara et mean, which would mean he created a kind, because et is the direct object marker. So if you just have a third person singular past tense noun, which is what bara is, and then you have a noun that's singular, like mean, the only interpretation is that noun following that verb is the subject of that verb, which means bara mean specifically means a kind created. It doesn't mean a created kind. If you want to use the equivalent of an English, a passive participle, there's an option in that in Hebrew, right? You can transform a verb into a modifier for a noun that is more or less equivalent semantically to an English passive participle. But you have not done so by simply citing the lexical form of the verb, which is what bara is, right? That's the lexical form of the verb. And in Hebrew, as in most Semitic languages, the lexical form of the verb is third person past tense, third person singular past tense.
There's this odd idea of purism that kind of exists when it comes to translations. And it's like, it doesn't have to exclusively be the Bible. I'm just talking about translations in general, where a lot of the people who make these arguments, from what I've observed, not a lot of the people that exist that make this argument, just the ones that I've observed, have this kind of idea, or they just don't understand that languages do not all follow the same, like... rules as to like what order that things go in.
Let's see. Asta Antediluvian was Ediaker in Ryu for 9.99 says, I have an irrational hatred for the people who say, yeah, grammatical gender is conservative and should be abolished, like it wasn't a problem until you said it, shaking my head. Look, the politics behind grammatical gender is complex, and grammatical gender is one of those things that's very hard to change in the short term in a language because it's usually so baked into everything about how the language treats nouns and adjectives. So yeah, it's a complex thing, right? And there are certainly ways in which grammatical gender can cause problems for the acceptance of certain people who maybe don't fit into the gender roles that the society that speaks that language primarily has said that they should fit into. But then again, yeah, it's going to be hard to get rid of it because it's so pervasive in the grammar of languages that have grammatical gender. And plus,
there's a concept in like socioeconomics that is about policing the language and the rules around a language, and having an argument about the words is a distraction from making changes that matter in both policies and behaviors, which would have a more positive or negative result than you ever do about discussing semantics.
Mark A. Smith for $5 says, you can take the Bible out of politics, but you can't take the politics out of the Bible. I mean, yeah, although I'm actually not that confident that you can take the Bible out of politics, because I'm, at least in the United States, it's going to be pretty pervasive, and even for people who are not, say, like the evangelical right or something, right? A lot of people, even people who are fairly on the left, are going to take the Bible as the inspiration for a lot of things they do. Because remember, there are people who are like professing Christians or whatever, or if we're going with like just the Hebrew Bible, who are Jewish or whatever and on the left, and who are taking a lot of their ideas about morality and things from parts of the Bible. Because remember, the Bible is not something that just actually lays out a moral system that you can enforce without any interpretation. Any consistent moral claim that you're going to pull out of the Bible can only be done by prioritizing certain parts of the Bible and deprioritizing other parts of the Bible. And people are going to do that
unrelated to absolutely everything. I have to dip out. And tomorrow is my birthday, so happy early birthday to me.
Yes.
Yay.
So everyone wish Vishanti a happy birthday. And we will be wrapping up pretty soon anyway. So guys, check out Vishanti. Her channel is linked in the description, which has an entire whole video on it. And also there's a wish list listed in the channel. And also, you know, Chesh has her channel listed. So we're going to get like a tiny little bit more in, and then we're going to wrap it up. So
cool.
Here we go.
Bye.
Min is kind. Bara is to create.
It's not to create. That is not an indefinite verb. I'm going to take a drink for Robert Carter not knowing the first thing about Hebrew grammar. And by the first thing, I mean he does not know what form is the lexical form of a verb in Hebrew. That is the most basic thing. It's how to look up a verb in the dictionary.
How to recognize a verb.
Right. Dr. Carter clearly doesn't know any Hebrew. And that's okay, right? Like, I don't think everyone needs to know Hebrew. That's a weird kind of...
Well, you're not saying he has to know. You're saying that if he's going to make definitive statements about it, he should know what he's talking about.
Exactly, right? That's the same thing I'm always pointing out. Like, is it a problem, per se, that Kent Hovind doesn't know what a dinosaur is? Well, it wouldn't be if he didn't go around calling himself an expert in dinosaurs, right? It's the same thing with Rob Carter. It's not a problem if you don't know enough Hebrew to know how to recognize a lexical form of a verb and what the lexical form is, right? And it's not always the same, right? In English, It's the form that the verb takes in the infinitive without the preposition to. Otherwise, all the verbs would appear in the T section of the dictionary, which would be the biggest section.
Yeah.
Um.
The problem isn't his misunderstanding or him taking an issue or not understanding. The problem is he contextually is making it an issue.
Yeah.
Right? So like it's the same thing with what was brought up earlier about pronouns. If you have somebody complaining about pronouns and then they don't know what a pronoun is, you've misunderstood the conversation, right?
Yeah. Also, I want to point out, Savage Geological Species Concept Cobra says Hebrew reads from left to right, right? No, in fact, it reads from right to left, which is most Semitic languages. In fact, I think the only Semitic languages that don't read right to left are Maltese, because it uses the Latin alphabet, and then Amharic and Ge'ez, both of which use the same Abugida, which reads left to right. Those are
What's
both
the direction that my books with the tentacles in them read?
Remember that time you were in a D&D campaign and your character kept getting restrained by tentacled monsters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
All right, so
The couple times that happened across multiple campaigns.
So in case anyone is wondering, the lexical form of a word is the form that you find in the dictionary for that word. And in English and most current European languages, the lexical form of verbs is the infinitive, or in English, the infinitive without the preposition to. In Latin and Greek, it is the first person singular present tense, and in most Semitic languages, it is the third person singular past tense form of the verb. So it's not always the same. The lexical form of the verb changes depending on which language, and basically it's the simplest form of the verb, the one that the other ones are derived from. Reformed Egyptian. Actually, for Egyptian itself, I believe the lexical form is also third person singular. Egyptian is iffy on the whole tense thing, so. Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, there's only American and not American. So we're not talking about English in particular. We're talking about American.
Yes. Yeah, that's obvious. All right. Well, we're going to close it up here. Chesh, is there anything that you want to tell people about that's coming up for you, or anything you want them to go and check out before we get out of here?
We have a tavern that you're supposed to be on next Saturday.
Yeah.
You guys should come to that. If you guys want to talk about politics, because I saw that a little bit in the side chat. If you guys do want to talk politics, that is what we do over there.
It's part of what we do.
If you want to hear Dapper drunkenly yell at Elon Musk, it's pretty great.
Yeah, that's more of what we do.
That is a lot of what we do, because this guy will not shut up.
Yeah, and I like to drunkenly rant at him.
It's a good thing to drunkenly rant at. So there's a video that just came out the other day about about some riots that were happening in Ireland not too long ago, and we all died live. It happened. We all unalived at the exact same time when we found out Elon Musk was involved.
Yeah, 'cause we weren't expecting that. There's just like random riots in Ireland. There's Musk inserting himself into it. Like, geez, dude.
Dude, unbelievable. It's so funny. You can watch that video. There's a playlist. So, like, I think that's, like, if I was going to direct the people on your channel to anything on my channel, it would be the tavern. I don't want anything else.
No, I mean, watch everything else as far as I'm concerned. Get Chesh to 12,000 subscribers.
Oh, boy. That's a lot of responsibility for one little goblin.
All right, so let's take a look at what's coming up on this channel. So on Tuesday, we've got Jackson with Jackson. That's going to be Jackson with Jackson 27, a new theory of evolution, where we're going to start a new video. A whole new Jackson video. My Infinite Journey for $2 says, love to the Dino Clan. Thank you very much. I love back. I really do appreciate it. I have one of the best audiences on YouTube. I maintain this.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
It's definitely not the biggest audience, but it's one of the most high-quality audiences, in my opinion.
Hey, listen, quality over quantity.
I mean, I like both, please, because I want to do things like, I don't know, buy like a recording booth and maybe a car that's not like 30 years old.
And maybe hire a producer.
Yeah, things like that. So on Thursday, Our Young Universe Part 2 of 2 is coming out. That is going to be a sequel to the thing that we just saw last Thursday with Jake Hebert. And then on Saturday, so I'm actually not sure if we're going to be doing a noon show. We are definitely doing, that's noon for me. We're definitely doing a show that evening, because that is the Cambrian Bunny nominations ceremony. where
Yay.
myself and a
That time
bunch
of year
the,
again.
Yes. Oh, myself and a bunch of the science friends. And I mean a bunch this time. We normally have like 3 guests. Right now I have 5 guests scheduled.
Oh, that's exciting.
So, and then when I said guests, I actually meant like including me. And then, yes, we actually normally have 3 people. Currently, we're expecting 6 people total.
Nice.
Yeah. So that'll be then, and then we may or may not have like a Dapper Reacts at this time slot that day. I'm leaning towards trying to do it, just because I don't want people who can be here for this time slot but can't be here for the later time slot to miss out. So it's a little up in the air. So yeah, there you go. That's about a week ahead. And yes, Fearmonger, that is in fact Big Forehead guy. Jake Hebert, the guy. Have you seen him?
I am sadly a little bit behind on Dapper content, specifically because of the shenanigans that have been going on my channel for the last 2 months. I apologize.
Are you watching the stream?
When I can, yeah, I've been popping in.
Okay, so like you have it up on like a tab or something?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to switch over to so that you can see that.
Oh, you mean this stream right this second? Yeah, I've got it open.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's coming up in the next week. This is Jake Hebert, of course, and Chesh. When you see him, you'll see why we call him like the Big Forehead guy.
I'm imagining something similar to Charlie Kirk's face being too small on his head, and then people just making it smaller.
Well, you should be able to see it now.
Mm,
Do you see it?
not yet. There it is. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite the forehead.
That's kind of impressive.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be next week. And then yeah, that's it. We are not doing Power Rangers today. There's other stuff.
This man looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So yeah, we're not doing Power Rangers after the show. So I will see everybody on Tuesday. You're not allowed to skip.
Yay! Don't forget to like the stream.
Yes, like the stream too. All right, bye
Leave a comment.
everybody.
Bye.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovand, Phil Ravara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Denny5252, Eleron Teller, Horseflesh, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostock Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Robert Carpenter, Sphincter of Doom, Vollus, Strawberry Vein, and Ita V. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.